Welcome to another Indie Dev Showcase, highlighting the many indie games we play here on the channel. If you'd like to submit a game for a future video, please reach out. But otherwise, let's begin. We are starting things off with Spirit Hunter's Infinite Horde. This is a bullet heaven that focuses a lot on kind of heavy meta progression. As per the norms of the genre, you are going to fight your way through lots and lots of enemies of varying shapes, sizes, colors, and kinds of attacks. You're going to be killing them using different characters. Each character gets kind of like a chosen spell or chosen ability that can also modify what they're going to be doing. As you play through, kind of like the major aspect of Spirit Hunters compared to, say, Vampire Survivors and the other ones we've played, is a very extensive metagame, almost akin to the massive passive tree of Path of Exile. You'll be able to unlock new spells, upgrade your existing ones, new features, new levels, new challenges, and much more. Now, with that said, the game still keeps in line with kind of like the original style of a bullet heaven, meaning that most of your attacks are going to be kind of self-directed. You do have a few attacks like my sniper arrow that kind of goes in the direction you're aiming, but for the most part it's going to be more about you moving and dodging rather than reflex-driven aiming. The issue that I have with this game is that it did feel a bit on the repetitive side, and again, that is from someone who's played so many examples of this. The metagame aspects are enough to keep things a little bit more engaging compared to some of the other ones that we've checked out, but if you're not a fan of bullet heavens, then this game is not going to do it for you. But if you're looking for another one to play, and to get that sweet dopamine of upgrades and progression, then give this one a check. We now switch over to Candle Knight. This is a 2D kind of action Metroidvania game. You play, well, a tiny candle knight exploring a giant castle. Something mysterious is going on with all the grown-up people. Apparently they're gone or dead. And you are going to figure things out by running, jumping, and getting upgrades along the way. I like the kind of sense of scale and perspective in this game. It reminds me a little bit of Clockwork Knight for the Sega Saturn. As for our gameplay, you'll be able to hit enemies to kind of raise your heat level, which will affect the amount of damage you do and the amount of damage that you take. So you need to balance kind of how aggressive you are at all times. As you explore the world, you will get access to multiple upgrades, being able to also upgrade your weapon and armor, as well as get stuff like, of course, a double jump and other means. Now, with that said, the game does have a few sticking points that I found. The first is that it is very easy to get turned around or lose your way in it. You see, the entire world follows the Metroidvania design that it's open but not really, as you'll need to return to previous areas in order to use an acquired upgrade to go down another path. But without having any kind of mini-map or full map functionality, at least when I played it, meant that it's very easy to get lost. A lot of the environments start to look a little bit samey, as they all kind of take place within the same general area of this castle. Combat felt okay for the most part. Again, you're going to have to manage how your heat is going to help or hurt you during fights. Some of the boss fights can feel a little bit tricky, especially when you're trying to hit them while staying out of their way. All in all, this is a game that I enjoyed what I saw, but it did feel, I think, a little too clunky in spots in order to keep playing it. One thing that did get a little bit frustrating near the end of our play is that the camera sometimes has a bad job of tracking what is above or below you. So it's very easy to kind of jump down a platform or jump up and not notice that wall of spikes or that pit of spikes until it's way too late. If you're a fan of Metroidvanias, I would at least give this one a check to see if it will work for you. But if you're not a fan of the genre, then this one may be a little too hot to jump into. We now go to a Shogun Showdown. This is a turn-based roguelike The footage that you are seeing is taken from early access and may not represent the current version of it. In this one, we get into turn-based combat with a variety of enemies, demons, and more, and we must use our various tools and weapons to beat them one turn at a time. The game itself is played entirely turn-based style. Characters will only move and behave after you do a move as well. As you play through, you'll be able to acquire different weapons as well as upgrade the ones that you have. How this works is that every weapon or weapon type has kind of a cost associated to it, as in the number of turns it takes for it to kind of cool off. You can also prime multiple skills to all happen at the same time if you just want to kind of burst down an enemy or area. Now, the challenge is that enemies can appear in multiple spots of the match, and certain abilities can kind of let them attack the entire row. You'll need a mix of offensive and movement-based skills if you want to be able to avoid everything. Being able to upgrade and modify skills at the various shops also opens things up. You can make a skill do more damage, you can have it cost less or fewer turns in order to recharge, to the point where you can just have it just immediately proc the second your next turn is over. Now, difficulty in this one can be a little bit tricky, as again, which enemies you fight and what skills you get will greatly determine how easy or hard a section is. A few AoEs or low cost kind of just like static or standard damage skills can let you deal with some of the more annoying enemies. But once you start getting those that can kind of attack the entire arena or do other effects, it becomes obviously far trickier. As you play through, you'll be able to unlock additional weapons that can show up, and the game recently, or one of the updates, added in an endless mode as well. I enjoy this one. It's another of the kind of deck builder adjacent style games I'm really looking forward to playing more of when it hits 1.0. So if you're looking up for another turn-based game that's going to challenge you one step at a time, then definitely give this one a check. We now go over to One Lonely Outpost. This is essentially Stardew in space. The footage you are seeing is taken from early access and may not represent the current version of it. We have come to an abandoned planet in order to raise crops, grow a settlement, and try to survive one day at a time. And of course, learn all kinds of mysteries about what is happening as well. If you've played any of these Stardew Valley or Stardew Valley Lakes in the past decade, then this one should be right up your alley. You're going to spend each day setting up crops, trying to gather resources you need for completing jobs and objectives, and making sure you don't run out of energy lest you'll have to go to bed a little bit early. Now, from what we played of this one, the world appears to be fixed, and you'll have access to different areas and biomes based on story progression. Now, with that said, from our time spent playing the early access build, I didn't see too many things that would be considered different or unique from One Lonely Outpost compared to Stardew, other than, of course, the outer space or sci-fi aesthetic. So, I know they are still working on this one as of the time of me recording this piece. There may be potential here for fans of this kind of genre, but if you're looking for a brand new take on it, One Lonely Outpost may not have reached too far to the stars in that respect. But if you are a fan of this, then I would at least keep an eye out for it when it is released or further along in early access. We now switch over to Soulvars, and this is definitely not going to be the peaceful farming game after our last one. This is JRPG kind of tactical combat focus. Apparently the original version was released on mobile, and then kind of the big budget or super extended edition was released on PC. You are exploring in kind of modern day where monsters and demons are attacking. You are part of a mysterious organization. You are going to have to fight your way to solve the case, one battle at a time. The combat system here is about combining different attack types or different kind of attacks in order to kind of create like combo moves. Each character can get access to different quote-unquote cards based on the gear they wear, and you'll explore a variety of dungeons trying to get gear, fight your way through, and solve the mysteries of the world. And I do mean the mysteries, as the story kind of like, it feels like it kind of starts you like in the middle of a plot, and I wasn't quite sure if I missed something or if there's like an extended like exposition phase out there. Now, combat here is, I would say, one of those games where if you can learn the systems and the rules in place, you'll be able to make do just fine, but it can throw certainly a lot at the player at the start. You'll need to manage your different characters and quickly get accustomed to setting up kind of your special moves and especially countering what the enemy throws at you. So this is definitely one that there is a lot here. If you enjoy kind of the basics of the game, then you're just going to get more and more of it. It may be a little too involved at the start if you're looking for a later or a game to kind of like ease your way into, but there was definitely some potential here for fans of kind of a tactical RPG style. And now for our last game of the showcase, this is Noroy. This is a kind of rage style game. Think of something like a Getting Over It meets like a Super Meat Boy or Celeste. We are trying to climb up a mountain where lots and lots of things are going to try and get us. We have the ability to jump, double jump, wall jump, and do our best to avoid the myriad of enemies and obstacles that are standing in our way. At any point on like any safe and stable surface, you can spend your kind of accumulated resources to set down a bonfire or a checkpoint, so if you die, you won't lose too much progress. But the twist or the pain of Noroy comes in if you get hit. You see, in this game, any actual damage, as in touching a saw blade or getting hit by an enemy, will send your character careening in the opposite direction, and you cannot control them until you come to a very stable and secure stop. So, in a game like this with lots of open walls, lots of pits, and all that, it is exceptionally easy to take a hit and lose a lot of progress. And what can make this very frustrating is that the bounce and the knockback is entirely physics driven. So it's not a case where you can try and align yourself or do what you can to avoid a hit. It is more of you take a hit, now suffer for the next few seconds. And if you're not a fan of the rage style of, say, again, like a Getting Over, Jump King, and all that, then Noroy is definitely not going to work for you. The controls are very responsive, which is good. Like, the game handles really nicely, but again, it's still all put down in this layer of rage and stress-inducing gameplay. So if you are a platforming fan looking to test your jumping mettle, then definitely give this one a check. But if you're not a fan of rage-style games, then this may be a trip not worth taking for you. And with that said, we're going to wrap up the showcase here. Thank you so much for watching. And if you let me tell your game for future stream and showcase, please reach out. And with that said, everyone, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and if you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.